Lastly, I find it very ironic when people such as David Brooks of the New York Times talk of Wikileaks as setting back foreign relations, citing an example that Arab leaders will be less likely to cooperate on Iran as a result.
The Brookings Institute just a few months ago released extensive polls of what Arabs think about Iran. And the results are rather striking. They show that Arab opinion holds that the major threat in the region is Israel. That's 80%. The second major threat is the United States. That's 77%. Iran is listed as a threat by 10%.
Well, there's the question why Arab leaders will be less likely to cooperate on Iran, and there is quite a decent answer, is that Arab people generally aren't as hostile. Another popular argument is that Julian Assange is harming lives and national security. And this is most puzzling to me, especially when published alongside people who say the previous argument. As usual, misinformation is rife, and Robert Gates, for example, is saying the effect is minimal, and Hillary Clinton, on one hand, is saying the effect is minimal, and then on the other hand, she's saying it's an attack on the international community. And if it isn't misinformation and confusing to be saying two very different things just to see which one hits the target of someone's mind and gets them to believe, then I'm not sure what misinformation is. For the US government and its agencies to say that Wikileaks is endangering lives is a bit like someone who organises dogfights criticising the audience for watching the dogfight, as if it wouldn't exist if you didn't know about it. The same was said of the previous releases, which arguably were far bigger in terms of a big story, yet the Pentagon said they had no evidence of it leading to actual harm. I'm not so naive to think that governments should not have some level of secrecy or some secrets, but as seen, when it reaches grand-scale proportions of questionable events and involves breaking law to cover their own asses, then you can begin to question the role of secrecy in government, rather than petty questions over law broken revealing crimes. Would it be more beneficial to have more open democracy rather than a talk down at them in private and praise them in public approach? The answer is fuzzy, but surely given the contents of most of these cables, perhaps they are in need of a little humility and a reality check. But we will see whether they have any genuine effect in the future. Either way, it is broadcast by the media. Even if regarded by the public as a no-story, big deal sort of thing, it is vastly important to international relations, as it confirms many suspicions. Once suspicions are confirmed, you can move on and assume them to be true. Lastly, there is something important that needs to be said, especially regarding what people refer to as anti-Americanism. People say that Wikileaks in the past few months has targeted the US, but the truth is that Wikileaks has gone after corruption around the world, and going after is the wrong way to describe it. Wikileaks releases information that it is given from all sorts of places. It can't manufacture things. It cannot simply target. It gets given information, it prioritizes that information, checks that it's true, and then releases it. After all is said and done, even if you say that there is no story in any of the cables that are released, there are still over 249,000 other cables that are yet to be analysed. And I'm sure there'll be at least one story out of 249,000 that will satiate even the most feisty of critics.